To New York now, and Danny Russell, a vice president at the Asia Society Policy Institute and a former career diplomat who advised U.S. President Barack Obama on re-engagement with the Asia-Pacific region. Danny, thank you for being with us.
My pleasure. Thanks, Joe.
So it's important not to lose sight of the fact that the world's biggest and second biggest economies are still locked in an escalating trade war. I want you to listen to the U.S. President Donald Trump speaking Wednesday. Here he is.
China wants to make a deal. They just don't know how quite to go about it. You know, it's one of those things they don't know how quite. They're proud people. And President Xi's a proud man. I know him very well. And they don't know quite how to go about it, but they'll figure it out.
So putting the patronizing tone to one side, is there anything to indicate that Beijing is even willing to negotiate at this point? It seems they've been preparing for a fight since they were hit by tariffs during Trump's first term.
Well, the Chinese have said we are prepared to negotiate, but we're also prepared to fight. It depends on how we're treated by the Trump administration. And right now, their biggest question is not how to negotiate. Of course, they know how to negotiate. It's who do they negotiate with? They've had a lot of trouble communicating with Trump and with the China hawks that surround Trump. Their bigger question, John, is what does Trump want? They genuinely don't understand what the end game is for the Trump administration and for Donald Trump himself, unless it is to crush China, to undermine China.
And when tariffs reach this level, north of 100%, where's the off-ramp here? One side's got to blink, right?
The fact that he paused the tariffs on the rest of the world at a moment when the markets were going straight down, his billionaire cronies were screaming bloody murder, tells the Chinese that the market is Trump's Achilles heel.
China is now reducing the impact that the US tariffs will have on its economy, as Bloomberg reports, by devaluing its currency, which effectively makes Chinese exports cheaper to the rest of the world. The value of the RMB is determined by a managed float. It goes up or down within a limit, which is set each day by the central bank there. And this is one of the many ways, along with quarantine quotas and controls rather, quotas, a bunch of other non-tariff measures, which China has used to cheat, if you like, or at least bend WTO rules. So in many ways, Trump is right when he says they've been ripping off the United States in some ways, and as well as everyone else.
Well, I'd make 2 points, John. One is, and I'm absolutely not a banker, so my knowledge of exchange rates is pretty limited. But the impression that I have is that China is doing a very soft devaluation, that they see a lot of risk if they are seen as actively and sizably manipulating their currency, particularly if they have any hope of someday making the RMB a convertible global currency, which is an open question. But there's no question that China has, for many years, been gaming the system, taking advantage of the free markets and the openness of the West and of the United States. But if that is the problem, Trump's 125% tariffs and his chest-pounding bravado is not the solution.
And all the chaos, the confusion, the hit to the bond market, the confidence, which has been lost in the U.S. economy, the trillions of dollars wiped off the value of global markets, apparently it's all part of a cunning plan. Here's the U.S. Treasury Secretary revealing details of a conversation he had with President Trump.
He and I had a long talk on Sunday, and this was his strategy all along. And that, you might even say that he goaded China into a bad position.
Even if that is true, it would seem there are better ways to address a trade imbalance which do not involve risking a second or a global recession, rather.
Yeah, that's an understatement. Look, I mean, I think that most countries will welcome the 90-day stay of execution if it lasts. But the whiplash from these constant zigzags and flip-flops create the kind of uncertainty that companies hate, that governments hate, and the administration's blunt force tactics, its heavy-handed tactics against allies, have really rattled those governments. And what they're seeing in the sudden reversal, the backing down by Donald Trump today, is is damage control following the market meltdown. It's not a pivot to a more normal style of negotiation. So the notion that this is some diabolically clever master plan to get everybody all excited and then to suddenly pull a solution, a rabbit out of the hat, strikes me as magical thinking.
To say the least. Danny Russell, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate your time as well as your insights. Thank you.
Thanks, John.